It's 1967 and the Vietnam War was raging on. In the jungles northwest of Saigon, a small American outpost waited to be attacked. It was built to look weak, built to look isolated, built to invite assault. The enemy accepted the invitation. This is Firebase Thunder and the soldiers that defended it. In the late years of America's long war in Vietnam, the jungles of Tay Ninh province were never silent. Even in daylight, the canopy muted the sun and swallowed sound. It was here, along the Cambodian border, that the war settled into a pattern. Trails invisible from the air carried men and supplies south. Engagements flared briefly, violently, and then disappeared back into the foliage and mist. American commanders knew the enemy lived here, moved here, planned here, but they could never quite hold him in place long enough to finish the fight. By mid-1967, frustration had hardened into doctrine. Instead of chasing the enemy through endless jungle, they would give him something he could not ignore: a fixed position. The concept was simple: build a small base, make it appear isolated, let the enemy believe he had found a weakness. And when he came, destroy him with devastating firepower. They named it Firebase Thunder. Engineers arrived first. Bulldozers growled through the undergrowth, knocking down hardwood giants that had stood longer than any nation at war. Berms were piled high, fighting pits were dug. Sandbags were filled until hands blistered and shoulders burned. Concertina wire was rolled out in overlapping coils, and communication antennas rose from the dust. Thunder sat in a region the maps marked as contested. The Cambodian border lay close enough that enemy units could step across an invisible line, vanish into sanctuary, rest, resupply, then return. American forces were forbidden to follow in strength. It was a door the enemy could pass through freely. The fire base was meant to change that equation. Bravo Company, an infantry unit not large enough to conquer ground but experienced enough to hold it, took responsibility for the perimeter. Artillery crews of Battery C set up the guns. Support troops, medics, radio operators, mechanics, and cooks rounded out the population. Fewer than 200 men, not a fortress, not a town, just a small island of sandbags and steel surrounded by an ocean of green. Every patch of ground beyond the wire was surveyed. Distances were recorded, coordinates written, artillery fire plans were drafted for every likely avenue of approach. Mortar positions were plotted. Claymore mines were placed in overlapping arcs. A rise of earth here, a fallen log there, a cluster of brush left deliberately. From a distance, they looked like natural shelter. In reality, they sat squarely inside pre-registered impact zones. Outside the wire, in the jungle that never truly slept, hundreds of North Vietnamese soldiers settled into concealed positions. They had watched it being built. They had counted the gun pits. They had measured the perimeter. They had decided that it could be taken. On a warm evening, just after 10 p.m., the first rounds landed. A rocket slammed into a bunker on the southern wall, bursting sandbags and sending fragments into the night. Another rocket hit near the artillery pit, shaking the ground. Mortars followed, walking across the interior of the base, seeking to suppress gun crews and defenders. It was textbook. And Thunder answered textbook in return. Artillery crews sprinted to their howitzers. Gunners threw shells onto trays. Loaders rammed them home. Fire direction shouted grids already written on cards. No time wasted on calculations. Everything had been done weeks earlier. There in the trees, enemy assault waves were already forming. Whistles blew. Officers shouted commands. The first company surged forward, leaving cover, running into the open ground they believed would carry them quickly to the wire. It was the last decision many of them ever made. Airburst shells detonated above their heads. Invisible storms of steel rained downward. The artillery shells inflicted brutal damage. The assault did not vanish. North Vietnamese discipline was hard. Officers pushed survivors forward. Fresh waves emerged from the trees, stepping over the fallen. American machine guns opened from the bunkers. Some North Vietnamese reached the inner perimeter, and sappers were able to blow a hole in the wire. The gap became a funnel of death as American machine gunners raked the area with devastating fire. The assault broke before dawn. And when the sky lightened, Thunder was still standing tall. Smoke drifted over shattered trees. The cleared fields beyond the wire were littered with dark shapes. Inside the base, men sat exhausted, ears ringing, hands shaking now that the danger had passed. 2 nights later, the enemy tested again. The soldiers answered with artillery and fixed machine gun fire, repelling the enemy attack. By the end of the week, the regimental force that had moved into the area had bled itself dry against Thunder's berms and killing fields. By 1969, Firebase Thunder was dismantled. The guns moved, and the berms collapsed back into the jungle. Thunder's mission was complete. Artillery pieces were hauled away. Antennas came down. Generators were shut off. Sandbags were emptied or left to rot. Thunder was just another patch of forest in a country that had absorbed thousands of such scars. By 1970, American strategy in Vietnam shifted again. Large fixed fire bases became fewer. Mobility increased. Air cavalry raids, temporary landing zones, and rapid insertions replaced static defense in many regions. Yet for a brief window in 1967, that small patch of Tai Ninh jungle was a place where 19-year-olds with rifles and machine guns held ground because there was nowhere else to go. If one stood now where Thunder had been, there would be no berm to climb, just uneven ground. Thicker vegetation, perhaps a piece of rusted metal half buried in the soil. It would look like nothing special, but history will never forget the young American men who fought here, sacrificed here, and died here to defend a small patch of earth in a strange country far from home.
I wish I knew 20 years ago, so before I went blue. I've been waiting for someone to cut me loose. I didn't recognize those sad-eyed eyes. All along I was you. I've been kicking the can way too long now. I've been kicking the can way too long now. Peace, say hello to heaven.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Searching for the boy I once